While I was tidying up my desk, Director Higgins suddenly called for me. I had been thinking about resigning without saying another word, but since she summoned me, I reluctantly headed to her office. Then she dropped a bombshell.
Mr. Incompetent, take over the $15 million deal.
More than anything, I didn't want to be manipulated by her anymore. Besides, handing such a massive project to an employee who was practically fired seemed odd. Even if Director Higgins' dad is the EVP, I can't stand her making arbitrary decisions like this anymore. I reached a decision and asked her, "Can I see the documents?" Mistaking my intent, she smugly handed over the documents. Flipping through, I confirmed what I thought. My name was already in the column for the person in charge of that document. However, the date was from several months ago, before I was told I was being fired. Why did she bring up this deal now? Understanding her intentions, I spoke up firmly. "It's impossible since you've named me specifically. Since I'm being fired, I'll excuse myself. My name is Kevin Johnson. I am an employee of the company in my half of 50s. As I entered this company as a fresh graduate, I felt strange to think that more than half of my life had already passed, which made me feel like it was long or short. I worked in the sales department of a beverage manufacturer, enjoying my days as a salesperson. However, as the company expanded, the sales department was divided into sales and marketing. I was assigned to the marketing, and that's where I am now. Marketing is the department that creates mechanisms to sell products. Unlike sales, which directly handles sales contracts, marketing focuses on promoting to the market. While sales deals with current customers, marketing must understand the behavior of potential customers and devise business strategies. Initially confused by the difference, I found great satisfaction when our well-discussed and researched plans succeeded. However, no matter how much I researched the market and promoted my products, some did not sell at all, while others hit the unexpected target demographic. I gradually became fascinated by the depth of marketing. I am a senior member of the department, and although I am much older than the others, I have tried to communicate with the younger members as much as possible, and they have come to talk to me in an open and friendly manner. The open and comfortable atmosphere where everyone shares their opinions is something I greatly appreciate. Indeed, the young employees' perspectives are vital, and their quick grasp of trends through social media is impressive. Something becomes incredibly popular one moment, and then suddenly, no one talks about it anymore. Keeping up with the rapid changes and trends is a tough task at my age, but it's part of the job. An alien who's an incomprehensible enemy can become a helpful informant once they're on your side.
Kevin.
A young male employee approached me. "What's up?"
Our competitor company had a major blunder online yesterday.
"Really? What happened?" I try to keep up with the news, but I often miss smaller stories.
Seems like they messed up with their tagline.
He explained, showing me the trending post. "This? Really?"
Yeah, I saw this yesterday. This is a no-go. It's outdated, not something that would trend nowadays.
As I was talking, another female employee happened to pass by and joined in our conversation. "So it's a no-go." "Yo, definitely a no-go," the two of them agreed, nodding. That was a close call. We were actually considering going in that direction with our project. Guess we should drop it then. I had decided to change the tagline of the project I was working on, but it was better to go through that hassle than to face a public backlash.
That's a good idea. It'll definitely cause a stir.
Lately, these kinds of things have received much negative attention. It's better to avoid them, I think.
Thanks to everyone, from the juniors to the mid-level employees, who openly shared their opinions. Our marketing department has been working in a great atmosphere without major mistakes. However, this harmonious work environment was about to change due to personnel reassignment. Every year, our company undergoes staff reassignments, and this time was no exception, with significant changes. A woman in her 30s replaced our easygoing and always smiling director, who had been watching over us. Lisa Higgins was somewhat of a celebrity. Rumors were that she got into the company through connections as the daughter of the EVP and had been doing whatever she pleased in various departments. In fact, she was known to favor and be kind to those who praised her, but would ruthlessly push out anyone who disagreed or challenged her. Since the announcement, I feared what would become of our department, filled with people who always speak their minds. My bad feeling turned out to be spot on. To get approval for a certain project, I went to see Director Higgins, my boss. This project resulted from meticulous discussions with the staff, considering the opinions of the sales team, and finally coming together. We all felt confident in it, and were just waiting for the go-ahead to start production. She glanced through the project proposal and carelessly tossed it aside, saying, "What is this? It's completely no good. Could you please specify what's wrong?" Perceiving my insistence as defiance, Director Higgins glared at me sharply.
A bad project is just that, bad. Redo it.
Could you please advise me from which side I should start redoing it? I asked that with confusion. Her response was cold and blunt.
I said the whole thing. This project is rejected.
Wait, please, can we at least discuss the content a bit more? I pleaded, but she ignored me and walked out of her office. I had to tell everyone about getting a negative response from Director Higgins, and we set up a new project meeting. Since we had a fair amount of confidence in the previous project, the mood in the meeting room was gloomy. In the midst of this, a cheerfully out-of-place voice rang out.
What's with the glum faces, everyone? I've come up with a great idea.
The plan she proposed was so outrageous, it was doubtful if any market research had been done. Even a fresh graduate could come up with something better, we all thought, stunned, listening to Director Higgins' presentation. After a while, a young male employee hesitantly raised his hand.
Sorry, but what are the persona settings for this project?
Persona? What's that? I'm talking right now, so no need for your unnecessary input, she retorted and returned to her presentation. Persona, a basic marketing term, refers to a detailed and concrete image of a customer. It was evident she didn't know this. While listening to the pool presentation, everyone was quietly exchanging glances. All the members were confused. When she finished and asked if there were any questions, I raised my hand after some thought and spoke up clearly. Sorry, Director, but we can't go forward with this project. Her demeanor changed instantly.
What do you mean?
To be honest, this project is not viable as a plan. In marketing, market research is crucial and... At this point, Director Higgins let out an exaggerated sigh.
You don't get it.
What don't I get?
Your own position.
She said coldly, looking down on me. What does that mean? I began, but Director Higgins interrupted without letting me finish.
You're fired. Don't bother coming in next month.
Normally, a director couldn't just fire an employee on their own. But she, being a connection-based hire must have had some influence I couldn't contend with. And so, I was suddenly fired from the company I had served for over 30 years. Despite my confusion and sadness, there was no reversing the dismissal. Eventually, I decided to move on, using my remaining leave to search for a new job. I only have connections at my current workplace, but thanks to a friend of mine who helped me out, it looks like I won't miss my meal at my age. My only concern was for the colleagues I was leaving behind. Regrettably, today was my last day. I hope that I could have a chat with everyone today, my last day of work. However, that didn't go as planned either. While I was tidying up my desk, Director Higgins suddenly called me. I was thinking of resigning without talking to her anymore, but since she summoned me, I reluctantly headed to her office. Then she dropped a bombshell.
Mr. Incompetent, take over the $15 million deal.
Confused about a handover on my last day, I asked her for clarification, only to hear an unbelievable response. I'll forget your firing ever happened for now. So, can you start on this deal right away? Though having my dismissal reversed might seem positive, I already had another job lined up. I couldn't just ignore the arrangements made with my new employer. More than anything, I didn't want to be manipulated by her anymore. Handling a large project worth $15 million to an employee who was suddenly fired is also somewhat strange. Even if Director Higgins' dad is the EVP, I can't stand her making arbitrary decisions like this anymore. I reached a decision and asked her, "Can I see the documents?" Mistaking my intent, she smugly handed over the documents. Flipping through, I confirmed what I thought. My name was already in the column for the person in charge of that document. However, the date was from several months ago, before I was told I was being fired. Why did she bring up this deal now? Understanding her intentions, I spoke up firmly. "It's impossible since you've named me specifically. Since I'm being fired, I'll excuse myself."
What? You're turning down a $15 million project?
She exclaimed. "Yes, to be precise, I can't accept it under your leadership. I'll be handling similar projects at my new job."
What?
At my words, Director Higgins stood up abruptly, making a loud noise, revealing a disheveled appearance I had never seen.
What do you mean?
She demanded, slamming her hand on the desk. I sighed and began explaining. When I was fired, I first consulted a former colleague from sales. He was originally meant to join the marketing department, but chose to return to sales instead. Now, he was a sales director at another beverage company. I still went out for drinks with him, and I valued his advice as a senior in job transitions. He listened quietly to my story, then casually offered,
"Why don't you join us?"
"Really? Is that okay?" I was taken aback but grateful. He seemed to be on good terms with the HR director at his company and told me he would try to talk to him. Things moved quickly from there. I never expected to transition so smoothly at this stage of my career. I had secured a job at a competing beverage company, assigned to the marketing department. It felt like a stroke of luck. During my interview, the HR director asked me something. They wanted to know if I knew about a major project that had recently started. It was a much-discussed plan about forming a business alliance with a rival company. The money involved was substantial. Due to the alliance between rival companies, it was a hot topic in the industry, so I had heard about it. However, I didn't know about the specific details. When I said so, The HR director looked puzzled. According to their records, I was involved in the project. Surprised, I instinctively said that couldn't be, but then it made sense. This project had indeed been officially brought to our company's attention. The project was initially addressed to me, but Director Higgins had covertly tried to take over, later deciding to let go when it became too much. Her attempt at usurping was bad enough, but not seeing it through was worse. Her attitude towards work infuriated me. She had likely climbed to her position through power and claiming others' achievements. Realizing how poorly she had handled the situation, I let out another deep sigh. Director Higgins, who had been listening to me, started trembling and then shouted,
That's unacceptable. You must take this project.
"But even if you say that," frustrated that I had no intention of taking over, the director turned back to the staff and said,
Are you running away? If you leave, the remaining members will handle it. You are such a bastard for leaving your colleagues.
Well, feeling like my colleagues who had helped me so much were being held hostage, I was lost for words. But then something happened. Everyone's attention was captured by a figure entering the office. He was a man dressed in a finely tailored suit, exuding a dignified aura.
That's enough, Lisa.
It was EVP Higgins.
Dad,
Director Higgins, taken aback, stepped back. She hadn't expected her dad to intervene. Mr. Higgins. I was equally surprised. EVP Higgins, a man I rarely see around the office. He rarely visited the marketing department, if ever. Despite knowing it was my last day, I hadn't expected him to come.
Sorry about this, Kevin. My daughter has caused you trouble.
He said apologetically. No, I never expected you to come.
Well, I do love my daughter. I've looked the other way until now, but I thought it was too much this time. I don't even know how to begin apologizing to you.
Saying that, EVP Higgins politely apologized. Please, no need to apologize.
why are you doing this for him, Dad?
Director Higgins's expression as she said this was filled with anxiety and seemed frightened.
You shouldn't say such a person about Kevin. We were colleagues in sales.
EVP Higgins corrected her firmly. I had a long-standing relationship with the VP Higgins from our sales days. Since he became an executive, we have rarely seen each other inside the company, but he occasionally invites me for drinks. I was contacted with him during my paid leave, and I had been explaining the whole situation regarding this incident.
But Dad, I am this person's superior.
Thinking you can do anything because you're the boss is a grave mistake.
EVP Higgins raised her voice, causing Director Higgins to visibly flinch.
Lisa, you've gone too far. You're an adult, a professional. I'm sorry, but you'll have to face the consequences, even as my daughter.
Wait, Dad, I haven't done anything wrong.
Director Higgins, pale-faced, clung to her dad.
I've been listening to you guys outside the room. Using your mood to dictate someone's career is unacceptable. You're not suited for leadership.
That's not true. I did well in my previous department.
Director Higgins, tears in her eyes, insisted.
You've always climbed the ladder by taking credit for others' work. That's not real work. It's time to stop playing house.
It's terrible to call it playing house. I was doing it properly.
Despite Director Higgins's tearful plea, EVP Higgins turned her back on her daughter, not listening.
I will report this matter to the president myself. It's my fault for letting it go this far. Kevin, I'm truly sorry for what happened. I hope you can fully utilize your abilities in your new position. I'm praying for your success.
Thank you. If it's okay, I'd like to go out for drinks again. EVP Higgins smiled narrowly at my words, leaving Director Higgins, who was in tears, and exiting the marketing department. Not long after my resignation, Director Higgins's fate was also decided. She was demoted and transferred to a remote sales office. A clear case of being sidelined. EVP Higgins voluntarily offered to cut her own executive compensation. The marketing department team, as usual, was voicing their opinions freely and seemed to be fully engaged in their planning meetings. They appeared to be quite satisfied with their new boss, and the emails I occasionally received from them sounded cheerful. I hope they never forget that honesty and continue to have fulfilling days ahead.
Kevin,
A young male employee approached me while I was looking at my PC. What's up?
check out this post. It's going viral.
What? Which one are you talking about?
This one.
He said, showing me his cell phone screen. Wow, so many comments.
We did it. This will definitely be a topic of conversation.
Reading through the numerous comments, I couldn't help but strike a victory pose. This photo came out great too. The male employee chuckled at my words. What's funny?
No, it's just, I always forget because you talk so casually, but there's quite an age difference between you and me, Kevin. I just felt a bit of a generation gap there.
Where? What part? In my flustered state, he dropped a cold one-liner.
That's a secret.
Why? Tell me.
Can't do that.
The male employee grinned and walked back to his desk. What's that all about? I muttered, still not understanding where the generation gap lay, and turned my gaze back to my PC. Since my job change, a few months had passed. Even though I was still in the same industry and marketing department, the internal systems and ways of working were of course different. Learning everything new at this age was quite challenging. Lately, everyone from the young to the senior members has started to talk to me more openly. It was a great joy to work in an environment where everyone had strong opinions and we could learn and grow from each other. The $15 million project is still ongoing. Ultimately, my trusted colleague at my former company took over my responsibilities, which was a relief. Seeing each other at meetings has become one of my joys. Since my career change, I've realized there's still so much to learn in marketing. Despite being older, I'm still a newcomer here and eager to absorb as much as I can.
Kevin, the meeting is starting.
Hearing my colleague's voice, I quickly stood up from my seat. All right, I'm on my way. With a spring in my step, I headed to the conference room. I wonder what ideas will be shared today. Filled with anticipation, I opened the door to the meeting room.
I'm Kent, a 31-year-old office worker. I have an older brother, Steve, who's 7 years older. Growing up, our parents were always busy, so Steve was the one who took care of me. He adored me as his younger brother and always put me first. But he wasn't just about pampering. He knew when to be strict. As a result, I completely became a big brother's boy. Steve was an exceptional person even in my eyes. He always had top grades and was athletically gifted. He made learning fun and easy for me. You're amazing, big bro.
You're really amazing too, Kent. You learn quickly and have high comprehension skills, so you remember everything in no time.
Driven by my admiration for him, I worked hard every day. That effort led me to my current job. Just for the record, it's not like I had a bad relationship with my parents. I think our relationship's pretty normal. The one who's always supported me, though, was my childhood friend, Ashley.
Your calm nature is your strength.
Really?
Yes, I love that about you.
Whenever I was worried or lacked confidence, she noticed and comforted me. Ashley has always been by my side, and she has now become my wife. She's now carrying our precious child, and we're building a happy family together. I think the company I work for has a great atmosphere. Everyone gets along well, helping and communicating with each other. I try to lend a hand whenever I can. I'm really grateful to work here.
Instead of chatting, get back to work.
But there's one exception. The atmosphere turns tense whenever our director, Miss Emily, shows up. She joined our department recently due to a personnel transfer.
I graduated from a prestigious university. You less qualified folks should just follow my orders.
The director, apparently very proud of her own educational background, kept bringing up the topic of academic credentials at every opportunity. Apparently, she's been asking everyone about their educational qualifications. It seems she has concluded that she has the highest level of education among the group. Personally, I value work performance over educational background, so her academic boasting doesn't impress me.
Which university did you attend?
She asked me one day. I didn't care for the conversation and was busy with work. I didn't attend a university in the US, anyway.
What? You're just a high school graduate? That's unbelievable. Nowadays, that's synonymous with incompetence.
When I tried to respond casually and just get on with my work, she presumptuously labeled me as only a high school graduate and started mocking me. But honestly, I didn't mind that much. I believe everyone has their own way of thinking. The director, who prides herself on graduating from a prestigious university, seems to think she is superior and correct, and that she doesn't need to listen to someone with a lower education level. Once she labeled me as a high school graduate, she never listened to anything I said. If all she does is mock me, I just have to ignore her.
Hey, you with a low education, get this job done by tomorrow.
What? Isn't this your task, director? Also, isn't the deadline for this job supposed to be next week?
You're incompetent. Just do as I say.
I was troubled by her assigning me her work and harassing me. Thankfully, my colleagues helped me out, but her presence turned the department's atmosphere sour.
Kent, are you okay? You look tired.
As soon as I got home and sighed, Ashley approached me. She works at the same company as me, but she's currently on maternity leave and unaware of the current situation at the office. I wish she would focus on preparing for the baby, but I ended up venting a little. Actually, I'm being targeted by someone difficult at work, and she's dumping her tasks on me.
That sounds tough. Can you tell me more about it?
Taking comfort in her gentle manner, I ended up telling her almost everything about the new director. Little did I know that this conversation would be passed on to someone else.
Kent, Can I have a word?
Sure, go ahead. One day at work, my brother Steve, who works in a different department, approached me. Both my brother and I have moved out of our family home, and since we work in different departments and hold different positions at the same company, we rarely have a chance to talk. However, given that we frequently keep in touch, I was puzzled as to why he chose this particular moment to speak to me.
I heard from Ashley.
I couldn't help but give a wry smile at those words. Ashley has been my childhood friend, and she shares a close relationship with my brother. There's no romantic involvement between them, and I know my brother is already happily married and deeply in love with his wife, so there's no cause for concern. They've made it a point not to meet without me or Steve's wife, and always share their communication with me. He's still showing me those interactions from back then. It's not really necessary, though.
If you need me, I can step in.
It's okay. Talking to Ashley has already made me feel a lot better, and for now, I just want to wait and see how things go.
All right.
I smiled at my brother, who looked concerned, and declined his kind offer. We chatted about other things and then parted ways.
Hey there.
Director.
Why are you an incompetent, friendly with Steve?
Suddenly, out of nowhere, the director confronted me. I wonder if she is close to Steve. They must be almost 10 years apart.
You shouldn't be talking so casually to someone like him. Stay away from Steve from now on.
May I ask what is your relationship with him?
We were in the same department before. Well, I plan to make him mine someday.
Hearing those words, I couldn't help but be shocked and wide-eyed. She's actually after my brother.
He's such a handsome and talented man. A perfect match for a high achiever like me.
He is married, you know.
There are rumors, but he doesn't wear a ring, right?
Without revealing he's my brother, I tried to explain that he's a married man, but the director just wouldn't believe it. Indeed, my brother was then separated from my sister-in-law due to certain circumstances and didn't wear a ring. I could understand how the misunderstanding arose, but I wish she would listen to what others are saying. Even when I tried to stop her, she wouldn't listen.
What would a no-good like you know about him? Just stay away from him. You're uneducated and incompetent.
She said that and refused to listen to anything. I knew even if I told her I was his brother, she wouldn't believe me or would just use it to her advantage. After she left, I was at my wit's end. After that, I found myself on the receiving end of glares from the director day after day. Moreover, the harassment intensified, leaving me wondering what to do. Around that time, the previous CEO retired and a new CEO took office. A party for the inauguration was being organized.
I'm attending the party too. I was one of the first to get an invite.
The director was over the moon, bragging about it. But essentially, all employees were invited to the party. Everyone thought this, but no one said anything, not wanting to provoke her.
Jealous the.
Oh, yes, sure, I replied, to which she smirked. I had a bad feeling about this. For a few days leading up to the party, she was surprisingly quiet. On the day of the party, Due to some reasons, I arrived at the venue early. What? No seat for me? After chatting with the new CEO, I asked the hotel staff about my seat. I was surprised to be told there wasn't any. Confused, I voiced my bewilderment, then heard a laughter behind me. As I turned around, I was met with a surprise. "Director."
What a foolish look on your face.
She laughed, pointing at me. I thought in disbelief.
I had your seat removed.
How? Why?
The party organizer is my uncle. I asked him to remove your seat since you're uneducated and incompetent.
I can't believe someone would actually do that. As I stood there and settled, I noticed someone looking at us in surprise. That person's changing expressions helped me regain my composure.
There's no seat for the low-educated, so leave.
In the middle of the luxurious hotel's event space, I sighed deeply at those words. I was tired of being looked down upon for my education all the time. This might be a good chance to set things straight. With that thought, I sent a glance towards the person behind the director. He was wearing an expression of anger. "Well, I guess I'll be leaving then."
What? Really?
To the director's surprise, I easily agreed to leave. Her expression soon turned triumphant.
Then leave quickly.
There was no need for her to tell me. So, I quickly left the hotel as she wanted. Imagining what would happen next, I couldn't stop laughing. I wonder what will become of that clueless director. As I was enjoying my coffee, I received a call from her. Smirking, I answered the phone. From the phone came the director's panicked voice.
Please, come back right now. I had no idea you were.
She was clearly shaken, and I couldn't help but laugh. You didn't think I was the new CEO's brother and the former CEO's son, did you? Yes, the new CEO is actually my brother, Steve. He was the one watching us that time. I had sent him a glance, asking him to keep quiet until the party started. If I hadn't done that, my brother might have yelled at the director right then and there. So, I sent him a look to keep quiet at that moment. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but yes, I am indeed the son of the former CEO. My father, the former CEO, is a man we both deeply respect. He was diagnosed with an illness one day, and though not hospitalized, he needed regular visits to the doctor. The problem was who would take care of him. Both my brother and I were busy with work, and our mother had recently injured her leg. While we were figuring out what to do, my sister-in-law stepped up to help. She used to be a doctor, so she moved into our parents' house to take care of them. Of course, my brother and I still visit our parents' home regularly, and importantly, my brother frequently travels between our parents' house and his own. He didn't move in with them because he's busy with the transition to becoming the CEO of the company, often returning home late at night, so it's more convenient for him to stay at his home closer to the office. This is why they have been living apart. Additionally, my brother has a metal allergy, which is why he doesn't wear a ring. This is no secret. Most people in positions of authority know about it, so we don't feel the need to announce it publicly. I didn't explicitly tell you because most of the senior staff already knew I was related to the CEO.
No way.
Well, you never listened to me in the first place. This party was not only to celebrate my brother's official appointment as the new CEO, but also to announce my father's recovery and introduce my sister-in-law as his wife to the entire company. At that event, I was supposed to be introduced as the brother and the future right-hand man of the new CEO. However, due to the director's actions against me, the plan was disrupted, and it apparently turned into an occasion to condemn her actions. While on the phone with her, I checked my messages and saw one from my brother asking me to come back. I stood up, leaving the coffee shop where I had been waiting. I hadn't gone far, just to a nearby shop for coffee. Because of that, I was able to return to the venue quickly. Sorry to keep you waiting. As I entered, all eyes were on me. I walked towards my brother and the others, with everyone watching.
You look tired, Kent.
There, I found my brother smiling eerily and the director, who looked like she was about to cry. When the director saw me, she hastily apologized.
I am so sorry.
No need to apologize. I have no intention of forgiving you. I replied without looking at her, smiling at my brother and the others. Sorry to trouble you.
Don't worry about it.
My brother, you would easily forgive me if I apologized. Then pointed at the director. It seemed like he was giving me the chance to retaliate before he took his own action against her. I nodded with a smile and turned to the director. It's not because you were disrespectful to a relative of the CEO that I won't forgive you. It's what you did to me personally.
I'm so sorry.
You're apologizing only because I'm related to the CEO, right? If I were the uneducated and incompetent person you claim me to be, you wouldn't be apologizing, would you? Saying this, the director turned pale. Oh yeah, I need to clear that up. I'm not just a high school graduate, you know.
What?
I did go to high school in the US, but for college, I studied abroad.
Abroad? I never heard that.
Well, I did say I didn't attend university in America, didn't I? The director's eyes widened in surprise. I'm not as accomplished as my brother, but I'm still quite capable. That's why I went abroad right after high school. Well, I don't brag about my education like someone I know.
How can this be? An uneducated and incompetent person.
If I'm uneducated and incompetent, then I wonder how exceptional the director must be. I asked her, and she fell silent. My brother stepped forward, signaling that he would deal with the situation seriously. Her shoulders slumped in defeat.
Kent, are you going to stay for the party?
No, I'm heading home. I want to get back to my wife. Originally, I was just supposed to be introduced and leave early. I had planned to leave early especially because my pregnant wife, Ashley, was waiting for me at home. Understanding this, my brother chuckled and let me leave of my own accord.
Pa, welcome back. You could have stayed longer at the party, you know.
The party's not as important as you are, Ashley. I came home to my beloved wife, smiling genuinely. My special feelings for Ashley began in high school. Back then, I was struggling a lot. Despite my respect for them now, I felt a terrible inferiority complex towards my accomplished family. My brother has always been outstanding since our school days, and my parents were both successful, with my mother formerly working as my father's secretary. I felt crushed under the pressure of being in such an elite family. I'm worthless.
That's not true. You're amazing too.
I can't match my brother's grades or his sports accolades.
You and your brother are different, and you have qualities he doesn't have.
I lacked any self-confidence and felt looked down upon, though no one had said anything. My brother and parents tried to spend time with me despite their busy schedules, but I couldn't appreciate it during my teenage years. Ashley was the one who comforted and supported me through it all. She always had kind words for me and gradually became someone special to me. Thanks for everything, Ashley.
It's nothing. I just can't leave you alone.
She would often say that, supporting me through my many moments of doubt. I've always found it hard to get angry. It's exhausting, and I thought it's easier to just let things slide. This led to people underestimating me and causing issues due to my status as the CEO's son.
If anyone messes with you, I'll deal with them.
Ashley would get angry on my behalf and always drove those troublemakers away. She would even get hurt sometimes, but she stayed by my side. I wanted to protect her, to become stronger, both physically and mentally. So, when my father suggested studying abroad, I accepted.
Aren't you going to tell Ashley?
Yeah, and please, brother, don't say anything unnecessary, okay? At that time, I left for overseas without telling Ashley anything. I decided if she found someone else by the time I returned, I would give up on her. Thankfully, after graduating successfully, I was greeted at the airport by both my brother Steve and Ashley.
Welcome back.
After she said that, I confessed my feelings to her. We started dating, and now we're happily married, expecting our child soon. Hey Ashley, thanks for everything.
Why the sudden gratitude?
You talked to my brother about everything, right? That's why I could fight back, so.
Of course, I've always seen you as someone special since we were kids. I couldn't stand anyone hurting you.
Ashley said with a smile. I still have a long way to go. The person I wanted to protect was protecting me.
Just make sure you'll make me and our child happy.
Of course, I will. I firmly promise to build a happy life with Ashley. The next time I went to work, the director was no longer there. My brother informed me about her situation. She had been transferred to our department due to issues she caused elsewhere. The issue was about her stalking behavior towards my brother. It came to light through reports from my brother and others. Normally, this would have led to her dismissal, but unfortunately, our father fell around that time. In the rush to handle the transition of responsibilities, the situation was overlooked, and during that period, the director's uncle, who was an executive, covered it up. She only got a department transfer as a consequence. I wish you had told me about it.
I didn't want to worry you. You've always been calm and don't attack others, but that makes you worry more.
That's irrelevant now. I've always been considered too gentle and kind by others, but I don't think I'm particularly nice just because I don't get angry. So, the director and her uncle, the executive, are both currently under suspension. It's just a brief respite, really. My brother is very capable and uncompromising. Anyone who has angered him in the past has faced severe consequences. I silently sympathized with the director's future. Eventually, both of them were demoted to a newly established branch on a remote island. They're stationed on a remote island with surveillance, so there's no escaping. Their primary job is essentially sorting emails coming from the main office. Other than that, there's basically no work or entertainment. However, they have to work there as a form of compensation for the trouble they caused us. I wonder how much stress they're under now. With these thoughts, I continued my work. Following this incident, I was appointed as the new director. I had already been handling most of the director's work, so the transition was smooth.
Keep up the good work and climb the ranks. I need you as my right-hand man eventually.
In response to his expectations, I'm continually improving myself. Years later, Ashley and I now have 2 children. My brother doesn't have any kids of his own, but he adores ours. Choose your own path. You don't have to go to college. Studying abroad is also an option, but always be considerate of others. Education isn't everything. Make sure you look at the people you meet closely to know who they truly are. That's how I teach my children. Their future path is uncertain, and they might face struggles like I did, but Ashley and I will always be there to support them.
What are you thinking? How can a low-level employee like you afford to use paid leave to come to such a fancy hotel? Are you kidding me? Permission for paid leave? That was just to make you think you had a break. I never thought you'd actually take time off to come to a place like this.
This incident occurred on the day I took my mom to a luxury hotel as a Mother's Day gift. My arrogant boss had deliberately waited for me at the hotel, yelling and looking down on me mockingly. But he was unaware of something crucial. My mom is not just an ordinary lady. He doesn't know how this would dramatically affect his life in the future. I'm Michael Anderson. My parents got divorced when I was young, and I was raised by my mom in a single-parent household. From a young age, I realized how busy my mom was, working tirelessly for our livelihood. At daycare, I was always the last kid to be picked up.
Hey, teacher, where's my mom? Isn't she here yet?
Just a bit longer. Want to play with the blocks? What do you say?
But all my friends have already gone home.
Then let's build a big car with the blocks together.
The daycare teachers probably felt sorry for me, always waiting late into the night for my mom. They always suggested fun activities to keep me entertained. Even after I started elementary school, not much changed. Unlike the daycare, which kept kids until 7 p.m., the after-school program was fee-based and could only be extended until 6 p.m. If my mom was late, I would walk home alone in the dark. Sometimes, my friends' parents would get worried and drop me off at home. But that only made me feel more miserable, ashamed of them seeing our dark, empty house, and I'd often rush home alone. But I never expressed my loneliness or frustration to my mom. Even as a kid, I understood how hard she was working. I vaguely knew we were in debt, so I kept my feelings to myself, swallowing my loneliness. As I grew older, I turned to sports to distract myself from loneliness. Focusing on physical activity helped me forget all my troubles. That's how I coped with the solitude of my childhood. Thanks to my mom's hard work, our living situation gradually improved. In high school, while I participated in sports, I also worked part-time jobs on my days off. But thanks to my mom's efforts, it wasn't to support our living expenses, but rather just for pocket money. Like my friends, around that time, I started thinking about my future education. Mom, I've been thinking about what I want to do after high school. Just before a parent-teacher conference, I brought up the topic with her. She surprised me by saying, "A private university might be tough, but if you want to go to a state university and study what you like, that's fine. That's if you want to pursue higher education, of course." Really?
Of course, you've been through a lot. I want to let you study as much as you want.
Thanks, Mom. I'm going to college. I'll work hard and get into a state university, so don't worry.
I'm sorry, Michael. Thank you.
No, thank you. I chose a state university within commuting distance and studied hard, balancing it with my part-time job. During the parent-teacher conference, my homeroom teacher assured me, "If you keep up your current grades, you can definitely aim for it." With this endorsement, I confidently faced the entrance exams. My efforts paid off, and I was accepted into a state university. As a college student, I didn't slack off in my studies, balancing them with increased work hours. I was determined to make the most of the opportunity my mom had given me. I crammed my 4 years of college with as many courses as possible, earning an abundance of credits. At the same time, I was actively involved in extracurricular activities, which allowed me to enjoy a fulfilling 4 years in college. After graduating, I got a job in the textile industry. Working in textiles required not only a delicate sensibility, but also the physical strength to handle large amounts of fabric. Thanks to my sports experience during my student years, I was fairly confident in my physical abilities. As for developing a delicate sensibility, that was something I hoped to improve over time. Parker, the head of the sales department, once told me, "Sensibility is honed in the field, so don't worry about it." This advice made me think that, while career advancement was good, I wanted to stay in the field as long as possible. Once you get promoted, you tend to do more paperwork and attend more meetings than actual field work. When I shared this thought with my peers, one of them said, "You sure are an odd one." I guess most people want to advance their careers quickly and work in a comfortable office environment. It seemed I was a rare type. I worked diligently under Parker's guidance, sometimes even meeting the demanding requirements of our clients. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say I dedicated most of my Wendy's to my job. I was always thinking about the company, even in my sleep. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. Cancer.
Yeah, I debated whether to tell everyone, but I thought it's better to be honest rather than to create unnecessary speculation.
This is shocking.
But it's in the early stages, so it's not an immediate concern.
Parker called everyone together before work to share his cancer diagnosis. Although it was caught early and treatment for a return seemed feasible, He decided to retire early due to his age, which was over 55.
I'm sorry for the sudden news. I'll ensure a smooth transition so as not to cause any more trouble.
But are you sure you're okay? Can you be cured?
I can say for sure, there are no absolutes in medicine. But since it's early, the chances of recovery are high. Don't worry, I won't go down that easily. Make sure you visit me from time to time.
Parker. Overwhelmed, I couldn't help but cry, and Parker gently patted my back in comfort. Due to his illness, he did a brief handover and left the office a few days later. His replacement was Smith.
All right, everyone. I'm your new boss from today. I expect everyone to work hard. No more lax work like before. Be prepared.
His greeting conveyed a sense of danger, and everyone frowned, but Smith seemed oblivious. He was not expected to be promoted to this position. To be frank, he wasn't really known for his competence, but due to Parker's sudden retirement and the seniority system, he ended up getting the position. He disliked being told what to do and barely nodded in agreement to Parker's instructions. He was also known for losing his temper, yelling at juniors, and had a reputation for not being a pleasant person. Until now, Parker had always kept Smith in check, so there had never been any major problems. But after Parker left, Smith got promoted. There seemed to be no one left to restrain him. Furthermore, Smith was overly tyrannical to the point of being abusive to the employees. When I'd say have a good evening and try to leave on time after finishing my day's work, Smith would ask in genuine surprise, "Hey Anderson, why are you leaving now?" "Well, it's time, and I've finished my work for today."
What are you talking about? Just because you finished today's work doesn't mean you can just leave. There's always more to do.
But
all of you, too. Don't just focus on today's work. Look ahead and keep moving forward. That way, we can secure more contracts, which is good for the company. Work as much overtime as possible. Those who leave on time are incompetent. Work harder.
Smith proudly declared this in front of everyone, leaving us dumbfounded. When a junior colleague tried to take paid leave, Smith confronted him aggressively. "Hey, you applied for leave. What were you thinking?" "Well, yes, I did."
What kind of thinking is that? Everyone else is working hard, and you think you can just take leave? Nonsense. If you have time to spare, work.
Well, I have a family event that day. I've taken leave before without any issues.
I don't care. I'm the boss now. Forget how things were done before. No more taking leave.
His overly tyrannical behavior confused everyone in the department. At one point, he imposed a senseless punishment. Who comes in at the last minute like that? As a penalty, come in an hour early from tomorrow and clean the office. Another time, he announced, "We've hit this month's target, but it's not enough. Tomorrow is Saturday, but we'll have a meeting, so everyone must attend as usual." We all voiced our concerns, but Smith didn't care. It seemed he had been frustrated about not getting a position until now. After he finally got promoted to be a manager, he lashed out his pent-up frustrations on his subordinates.
"Hey Anderson, how are you doing?"
"Good evening, sir. Just the usual, I guess."
"That's good. But you know, being in your 30s and still just a junior employee, aren't you a bit too incompetent?"
What?
That's the lowest of the low. If you're still there at your age, it says a lot about your future, doesn't it? It's only a matter of time before the newbies overtake you.
Well,
Anyway, just make sure you don't get overtaken by the newcomers. And of course, I expect you to work overtime today as well.
with a pat on my shoulder, Smith walked away, leaving me with nothing to do but sigh. A few months after Smith's arrival, one day happened to be close to Mother's Day.
So I'm thinking of splurging on a Mother's Day gift.
That's nice. It's your first Mother's Day since you started working, isn't it?
Yes, so I'm thinking of giving a short trip or something as a gift, even if it's somewhere nearby.
Wow, that's wonderful. Your mom will be so happy.
But then I'd have to do the same for Father's Day, right? I'm thinking about where to go. They both love spa resorts, so maybe that would be nice.
Overhearing this conversation between a new female employee and a third-year female employee, I glanced at the calendar. Right, Mother's Day was coming up. Every year I take my mom out to dinner, but maybe this time I should splurge on a night at a luxury hotel. With that in mind, I hurriedly took action. I searched on my phone during lunch and made an early reservation. Immediately after returning to the office, I applied for paid leave using the internal company form. Although I wanted my mom to relax, it was clear she wouldn't go alone if I just told her to. Well, staying overnight with a parent at this age might feel a bit embarrassing, but it should be fine once in a while. However, applying for paid leaves, which used to be routine under Parker, had become impossible since Smith took over. I wondered what he would say this time, but staying in this situation would only increase dissatisfaction among my colleagues. Therefore, I decided to boldly apply for leave on a weekday. The days leading up to the trip were relatively calm. I was sure I would be reprimanded for requesting time off. I even prepared myself to be scolded in front of everyone. But surprisingly, nothing was said. Even more astonishing, my application was approved the next day.
Anderson, you seem to be doing well lately. Did anything good happen?
I guess it's just the usual.
Good. Keep it up, just as usual.
His overly cheerful mood was almost scary. But if things continued this peacefully, I couldn't ask for more. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that it was calm before the storm. Then came the day of the trip. I enjoyed sightseeing around the hotel area with my mom in the morning and headed to the hotel in time for check-in.
Wow, can we really stay at a place like this?
Yay, I'll check us in now. Just wait here.
Thank you.
While my mom excitedly explored the hotel's grandeur, I headed to the reception to check in. However, I stopped in my tracks when I saw someone who shouldn't have been there. Smith. My feet were frozen as I saw Smith hurrying over to me.
Hey, Anderson.
Why are you here, Smith?
What do you mean, why? How can a lowly employee like you use paid leave to come to such a luxury hotel? Are you kidding me?
After he started to berate me, he grabbed my collar as if he was furious. Confused, I managed to reply, but you approved my leave request. Indeed, my leave for that day had been approved by Smith. Why, then, was I being yelled at like that, at the hotel of all places?
That was just to lead you on. I never thought you'd actually take time off to come to a place like this.
Lead me on. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean.
What? Are you messing with me? Ha, I'd love to see the face of the parent who raised such an incompetent person who doesn't even understand their own position.
What?
Their face, the face. I want to see the face of the parent who raised such an incompetent person like you.
Smith, seemingly pleased with himself, continued, "You're just a permanent junior employee, never doing any unpaid overtime and showing no desire for promotion. What's wrong with you? Don't you want to get ahead? If you do, you should be working overtime every day. Show some determination and grit. Otherwise, the higher-ups won't recognize you." Well, someone as incompetent as you probably won't understand what I'm saying, right? Sorry for talking about complex stuff, he ranted. Just as I was feeling the sting of my surroundings and thinking about how to handle this situation, Michael, my mother, having heard the commotion, walked over. Then, it suddenly clicked for me. I turned back to Smith. "Smith.
What?
My parent is right here." Saying this, I stepped aside to reveal my mother, causing Smith to freeze in place.
Why? How?
Well, hello there. I believe this is the first time we've met within the company, isn't it?
Why? Why is the chairwoman here? You mean parent. What does this mean?
Oh, you knew about me. I thought I was hardly known within the company, since I rarely make an appearance.
Well, of course. How could I not know the face of the chairwoman? It's impossible not to.
Well, that's flattering.
Yes, my mother is the chairwoman of our company. It seems Smith knew of my mother, but wasn't aware of our parent-child relationship. In front of my mother, he completely shrank back.
By the way, Smith, I've heard everything. My son seems to be under your care. However, what he's told me about you seems to be true.
Well,
Paid leave is an employee's rightful entitlement. You have no grounds to fault him for that. And what's this? Unpaid overtime for promotion. Aren't you being abusive? Listen, work isn't just about mindlessly putting in hours. It's about efficiency, doing things effectively. Without proper balance, you can't perform well. I thought that would be common sense for someone in the workforce, but perhaps I was mistaken.
My mother confronted Smith with a smile, but her eyes were anything but amused. He was completely terrified by her presence. However, I had no intention of stopping her. In fact, part of me wanted her to be even harsher. My mother, who has always managed our company, can be incredibly intimidating when she's angry. Her mouth might be smiling, but her eyes were anything but that. They were so cold it felt like they could chill you to the bone.
Well, never mind. I'm here for personal reasons, not business. I don't have time to bother with you any longer.
But, chairwoman.
Is there something else you need from us?
No, nothing at all.
Good. I'll inform you of your consequences later. Be prepared. Michael, let's go.
Yes. Seeing my mother so enraged after a long time, I broke out in a cold sweat. Carefully avoiding provoking her further, I responded and walked past the stunned Smith. Glancing at his expression as we passed, he looked utterly defeated. After enjoying the trip with my mom, we returned home feeling very satisfied. I found Smith's seat at the sales department gone when I went back to work 2 days later. It turned out my mother had contacted HR from our hotel. Smith's unreasonable treatment of his subordinates came to light. Originally, HR had considered him unsuitable for the managerial position, viewing him as a stopgap until a more suitable person was found. Of course, if he had produced results, he could have stayed, but his behavior made that impossible. Misinterpreting the position given to him as his own merit, his tyrannical behavior resulted in an immediate transfer. He was sent to the logistics department. It's a physically demanding and hot area, mostly staffed by young, strong men.
Smith, to logistics.
I can't imagine he'll keep up.
He's clearly aiming for a voluntary resignation.
Well, considering what he did, he got his just desserts.
Anyway, I'm relieved we can work efficiently again now that he's gone.
Yes, no more unnecessary overtime or weekend work. It's nice to be back to peace.
Despite various rumors, nobody genuinely expressed concern for Smith. Perhaps he was now sweating profusely in the logistics department, feeling small and insignificant. I didn't have an ounce of sympathy for him. The sales department decided to leave the managerial position vacant for a while, with a manager temporarily taking on the role. We apologize for the inconvenience caused by this temporary personnel decision, the HR department representative said, even coming to the sales department to apologize. Additionally, my mother, though retired from the front lines as the chairwoman, decided she needed to keep a closer eye on the company's operations. The current CEO, who had been my mother's competent right-hand man for many years, also sent an apology letter after hearing from her. In the sales department, we were just glad to have our peaceful work environment back, so much so that we were almost embarrassed by the apologies from various departments. Smith quit the company shortly after his transfer to logistics. Whether it was a move aimed at inducing his resignation, I don't know. But working under younger employees, along with the physical demands, were likely too much for him.
He was really put through the ringer there.
He was a man who hated being told what to do, after all.
He wasn't going to last, was he?
These rumors faded within a week. Later, I was called to the reception room by my mother.
Michael, sorry for calling you in so suddenly.
No, it's okay. But what's up? Is there something else?
No, it's not that. I just think it's time for you to accept a promotion.
A promotion?
Yes, I'm truly grateful that you joined our company. I know you've continued to work on site, following former manager Parker's advice. I understand you have your ambitions and are dedicated to your goals, working with pride in your current role. I get all that.
But why the sudden promotion talk?
It's not sudden. I've been thinking about it for a while. And it's not just me. The CEO and the HR department agree.
What? That was a shocking revelation for me.
Since you joined the company, we've never really talked about this, so let me say it now. I'd like you to work towards becoming the next CEO.
That's I've always thought about taking over the company one day, but I still have so much to learn and I still want to be out in the field.
I understand, but our company's work isn't just about field work. Sure, there are things you can only learn and experience on the field. But there are also things you can only understand and learn from leading and commanding from above.
I understood what my mother was saying. I thought so too. When I first joined, I was fully intent on eventually taking over as the CEO. However, after working for 10 years in the textile industry, I started to doubt if I was up to such a big role. I asked my mother for some time to think and called former manager Parker during the weekend. He had successfully undergone surgery and was then living a peaceful retirement. I haven't been in touch for a while.
It's been a long time, indeed.
I consulted Parker about the offer and my feelings. Honestly, I'm more anxious right now. I'm worried that standing at the top with such a mindset will only make everyone uneasy. Parker calmly asked, "Do you have time now? It's your day off, right?" "Yes."
Then bring the highest quality textile sample you have to my house.
I rushed to get the best sample I was handling and went to Parker's house. When I showed him the sample, he smiled and said, "You've really come to understand, haven't you?"
Your experience in the field is evident. I think you'll be fine.
His words resonated with me. I felt recognized for the first time, and it was overwhelming. Thank you. I truly thank you. That gratitude gradually turned into confidence. Encouraged by Parker, I decided to accept my mother's wishes. I was anxious about what everyone would think of an inexperienced person like me getting promoted, but when I was actually promoted to manager, everyone was happier than I was.
Anderson, congratulations.
I'm as happy as if it were my own promotion.
It's about time.
I always wondered why you weren't in a managerial position until now. Congratulations.
Everyone, thank you. I might not know much beyond field work and might cause some trouble.
No trouble at all. We all know how much you contribute to the company. Don't worry, we'll support you wherever we can.
Thank you, really, thank you. The sound of applause was heartwarming. With my promotion to become a manager, the former manager was promoted to become a director. The sales department was again united, ready to move forward together. As a manager, I started taking a more active role in training and guiding the team. Although I've been asked by my younger colleagues to teach them, I was mostly out on the field and not often in the office. Especially, the new female employee whom I splurged on for Mother's Day seemed to have a lot of questions for me. I hadn't been able to teach much before, but now, I decided to share my knowledge and sales expertise with my juniors. Thanks to that, our company's performance has been on the rise. Yes, is there something else you're unsure about?
No, it's not that. Just, do you have a girlfriend, manager?
What? I was actually asked that question by that new female employee, leading to teasing from the others who'd say it looks like Anderson is finally going to have a spring of his own. After several years of hard work, I was promoted to become a director, having been recognized for my performance as a manager. Initially, I was full of doubts about this role, but now I'm completely resolved to take over as the CEO when the time comes. This change in me is thanks to my mother, who has always worked hard since my childhood, Parker, whom I respect, and all my supportive colleagues. Their backing has become my confidence, contributing to the company's growth.
Anderson,
Mr. CEO, good to see you.
good to see you too. How's the director position treating you?
I'm constantly realizing how much I still have to learn.
Haha, you're really modest, quite different from your mother.
The CEO and I occasionally go for drinks together. He has worked under my mother for a long time. I want to learn as much as I can from him now about his farts and the company's vision for the future. I don't want to rely on my mother's influence. I want to earn my place through my own abilities. Even if it's hard and humble work, I'm committed to it. Perhaps because of this attitude, the CEO shares various stories with me, including his experiences with my mother and his own failures. I also make sure to visit home occasionally and listen to my mother's advice.
You look much more mature and manly now. Maybe it's a parent's bias, but you seem so dependable.
Hearing her say that makes me feel like it's true. Until now, I've focused solely on field work and my own responsibilities. That was enough, and that's what was expected of me. But as my role and responsibilities grew, the perspective I needed changed. It's inevitable and something I must adapt to. Of course, I have to look at things from a higher level now. But it's also crucial to return to the ground level perspective, ensuring the staff's comfort and the appropriateness of human resources management. It's only because I've been on the field that I can think this way. My field experience has indeed broadened my horizon, yet I'm still inexperienced. Newly appointed as a director, the thought of succeeding as the CEO seems presumptuous. But for those who believe in me and follow me, I want to become confident and capable of that role as soon as possible. I still have much to learn from my mother, Parker, the CEO, and everyone else. I'll keep my feet on the ground and work to become a CEO who won't be ashamed of his roots. That's what I'm thinking now.
Leaving work early on such short notice. That's just not acceptable in the professional world, man. It's because of this irresponsibility that you're still unmarried at 30. He said with a half laugh. If you're gonna leave, you might as well quit the job. Hearing those words, I felt something click inside me. If the company is going to deny me even such important things, then I don't mind quitting at all. Understood. I replied just that and quickly left the office. My name is Michael Johnson, a 30-year-old bachelor. My classmates are in the middle of a marriage boom, and I'm the only single one left among my friends. It's not that I don't want to get married, but if you ask me if I want to do it right now, I'd say not really. I guess it'd be nice to get married someday, I think quite leisurely. Honestly, I haven't had a girlfriend for 5 years, and people around me say I should be more anxious. But I think things will work out as they will. However, whenever I attend gatherings with my classmates, the topic of my marriage inevitably comes up. When I say marriage talk, I'm not doing anything about it. So it's just the others getting excited about what I should or shouldn't do. And when the topic comes up, they always say, Michael, you're living with your mom. That's probably why you can't get a girlfriend, right? That's right. At 30, I'm living with my mother. In my early 20s, I lived alone for a while, and I indeed had a girlfriend back then. But when I was 24, my father passed away suddenly, and I thought my mother would be lonely. Initially, I visited frequently, but it became a hassle, so I moved back to my family home. Since then, I haven't had any particular reason to move out, so I've just been living there. Regardless of the reason, I can somewhat understand that a 32-year-old man still living with his parents is less likely to be chosen as a marriage partner. But I'm not in a hurry, and I don't intend to change my situation.
You used to be the most popular among us. How are you still single?
If you go on like this, you'll end up single and die alone.
Kids are adorable, you know?
It's nice that my friends are happily married, but being constantly rushed about marriage is honestly tiring. Yay, I'll think about it. I reply without really meaning it, just to get through the moment. If our life stages have changed so much that we can't connect, there's the option of ending the friendship. But aside from marriage talk, they're still the fun guys they always were. That's been my only source of worry. But recently, I've had another worry.
That's crazy. You're over 30 and still living with your mother.
Even at my workplace, there's a person who keeps saying that. He's my boss, Morrison. He was transferred from the headquarters in a nearby town. He's 2 years older than me, a married man. I recently saw him looking happy about the birth of his second child. It's natural for him to feel happy about marriage, and I think that's a great thing. But since he found out I'm single and living with my mother, he's started making fun of me every time he sees me.
Living with mommy at your age won't get you any girls. The peak age for men is early 30s, so you better hurry. Women will run away from a guy living with his mom at this age.
I can forgive my friends because I can feel their concern for me. But with Morrison, it feels like he just wants to mock me. So honestly, it's been incredibly unpleasant every day. Please don't say things like that. I respond vaguely since he's my boss, but it's stressful to deal with this repeatedly. Before Morrison arrived, there was nobody who said such things. Is it really that strange not to be married? I've never complained about such things at home, not even during my school days, but I just let it slip out, wanting someone to listen. My mother seemed surprised by my unusual behavior. There was a brief pause before she spoke.
There's nothing weird about it. Whether you choose to live life alone or with someone, there's nothing odd about it if it's your choice.
I sort of knew she would say that. But maybe it was a bit underhanded of me to complain to her, knowing she'd understand. I haven't decided to live alone or anything. I just don't feel like getting married or looking for a partner right now. I think it'd be nice if I felt that way someday. Is that too naive? Mom put down the teacup and chopsticks she was holding and responded.
There's nothing wrong with being naive. Whatever you feel, when you meet someone who you think is the one, it will naturally happen. Whether it's naive or not, it doesn't really matter.
I remember Mom saying that she and Dad fell in love at first sight and got married. I would have already been born when they were my age. But it's precisely because these words come from my mom that I somehow trust them. When that time comes, will I also feel like getting married right away? Later, Mom said, laughing, I'll keep my legs strong. So no matter how old I am when grandkids come, I'll be ready. I hope to give her grandchildren before she becomes an old grandma, all wrinkly. Thinking this way definitely feels positive. It doesn't erase all my doubts about marriage, but I feel much more optimistic than before. Well, at work, I still face the usual unkind words.
Since you're single and girlfriendless, you're okay with overtime, right? I've got my cute wife and kids waiting, so the rest of the work is all yours.
Right at finishing time, Morrison dumped his work on me and left in a hurry. No, I've got plans to eat with friends tonight. I thought to myself, but couldn't say it out loud. He's my boss, and leaving for family versus leaving to hang out with friends certainly gives off different impressions. Feeling the unfairness, I finished Morrison's work and managed to join my friends for drinks 2 hours late. And just as I finished my first beer, I noticed a missed call from Mom on my phone and called her back. She rarely calls me.
Michael, oh, is it your dinner with friends day? Sorry.
She tried to end the call quickly, perhaps hearing the distinctive noise of the bar. No, it's fine. What's up? She sounded a bit apologetic as she asked, "Could you pick up some sports drinks on your way home?" "Any time is fine. Enjoy your time with your friends." Mom isn't particularly fond of sports drinks, and since the convenience store isn't that far, asking me to get them could only mean she's not feeling well. All right, got it. After hanging up, I finished my second beer and explained the situation to my friends. Well, parents aren't young forever. Better to take care of things before it's too late. Don't worry about us. Going home, they said, so I decided to leave. They may talk tough, but they are kind-hearted guys. I left money on the table, bought some drinks and chicken soup at the convenience store, and went home. Sure enough, Mom was lying on the couch, looking a bit pale. "Here's your drink. Do you have a fever? Are you okay?" As expected, Mom felt bad about me coming home early. She even suggested, "Why don't you go back out?" But I declined, of course. No fever, but my head's been spinning since this afternoon. Lying down has helped a lot, though. "Thanks for coming back. I'm really grateful," she said, drinking and lying down again. With the recent high temperatures, it might be heat stroke. "You're not young anymore. Don't push yourself. Can't you take tomorrow off?"
It's nothing serious. I'll be fine. I promise to play hide and seek with the kids tomorrow,
she said with a smile. Yes, my mom works part-time as a childcare worker. She used to be a full-time worker for decades. Even though she's part-time now, her love for children is something I, as her son, can strongly feel. In that sense, I do hope she can play with her grandkids while she's still active. Thinking about this, I fell asleep. The next day, it was the hottest day of the year, and the sun felt scorching right from the morning. I got to work, endured Morrison's usual teasing, and continued working. And then, around 2 p.m., I was called to the reception because there was a phone call for me. If it was someone from work, they would have called my work cell phone. Calling me to the company phone meant it was something else entirely, and I had no idea who it could be. When I picked up the phone, I was shocked to hear who it was.
This is Nurse Harris from the General Hospital.
A call from a nurse is never a good sign. My heart started racing as I listened. Apparently, my mom had been rushed to the hospital with severe heat stroke, and she was unconscious. I quickly returned to my office to inform my boss and leave early. But almost all the higher-ups were out, and the only one there was Morrison. I didn't have time to hesitate, so I told him, "My mom's been rushed to the hospital with heat stroke. I need to leave early, please." I knew I was leaving work in a bind, but with my mom in critical condition, I thought there was no way they'd refuse. But Morrison just half laughed and said, "Leaving work early on such short notice? That's just not acceptable in the professional world, man. It's because of this irresponsibility that you're still unmarried at 30. It wasn't a laughing matter, and anyone would leave early if a close family member was in critical condition. I couldn't believe he was bringing marriage into it again. I just got a call from the hospital. I'll make up for the inconvenience later." I pleaded.
Come on, it's just heat stroke, right? That's not gonna kill anyone. I wish you wouldn't bring your love for mommy into work.
I was at a loss for words. I wasn't a mama's boy. Anyone would rush to the hospital if their mother was critically ill. Sorry, I don't have time for this. Seeing I was getting nowhere with him, I attempted to just leave, but Morrison half laughed and said,
"If you're gonna leave, you might as well quit the job."
Hearing those words, something inside me snapped. If the company was going to deny me even such important things, then I don't mind quitting at all. Understood. I replied just that and quickly left the office. I didn't look back to see what Morrison's reaction was. When I arrived at the hospital the nurse had told me about, my mom's condition had stabilized and she was resting in a regular room. She was connected to a large 4, looking very frail. When I identified myself as her son, the nurse and doctor briefly explained her condition to me. On the way back from dropping off a kid at their house, they found no one home. The child didn't have a key and couldn't get in, so my mom decided to wait with the child in front of the house. The bus was supposed to come back after dropping off other kids, but it got delayed in traffic, and my mom and the child ended up sitting outside for over an hour. The child was fine, having used an ice pack from their lunchbox and drinking water, but my mom collapsed just as the bus returned. The daycare staff came to visit and apologize, and later the child and their parent also came. They said my mom would be fine, so I tried to handle everything calmly and sat next to her bed once the visitors had left. Looking at my mom lying in the bed, I realized how much she had aged, though she was always so energetic. The wrinkles around her eyes, which weren't there a few years ago, made my heart ache. I stayed until visiting hours ended at 6 p.m., but she didn't wake up. The doctor said not to worry, but I was still quite concerned. I hoped she would wake up tomorrow. Thinking this, I got home and was blankly staring at the sofa when the doorbell rang. For a moment, I wondered if I was hearing things out of worry for my mom. But the intercom was lit, so I responded, yes. To my surprise, the screen showed an unexpected visitor. Morrison. I knew he could find my address through the company, but I had no idea why he would come. Was he here to taunt me, even at a time like this? Had my agreement to quitting been taken seriously? Reluctantly, I opened the door to find Morrison standing there with a woman holding a baby and a little girl, about kindergarten age. While Morrison looked somewhat embarrassed, the woman and girl bowed deeply, prompting me to bow in return. I hadn't been told anything, but they were probably Morrison's family. I wondered why Morrison would bring his family to my house. While I was increasingly puzzled, I invited them in anyway. "I only have coffee." Thinking I should offer something, I said that, but his wife quickly responded, "No, please, we just came to apologize. Don't worry about it." So, we all sat on the sofa. I had no idea what they were going to say, but the words that came out of Mrs. Morrison's mouth were totally unexpected.
Thank you so much for helping our daughter today.
What? I was surprised and let out such a sound, but as I pieced together the events of the day, I began to understand. This young girl, probably Morrison's daughter, was the child who had waited with my mom for her parents to return.
My husband was supposed to be home early this afternoon for our younger daughter's checkup, but he forgot, and Mrs. Johnson stayed with our daughter because she couldn't get inside the house. She gave all her cooling gel packs and drinks, which she always carries for preventing heat stroke, to our daughter, insisting she was fine. And to think it led to this. I'm so sorry,
she said, visibly shaking, with her daughter close to tears. Morrison also looked uncomfortable, so feeling unable to bear the atmosphere, I forced a smile and said, "No, it turned out okay in the end, so please don't worry about it. Thank you very much for coming to my home." Though I was told she was okay, my mom still hadn't woken up. I couldn't be completely at ease, but I didn't want to keep burdening another family with guilt. As they were leaving, Morrison spoke to me.
"I'm sorry for how I spoke earlier. Your mother risked herself to protect my daughter, and I, not understanding a sin's feelings more than you who are unmarried, was the worst as both a father and a person. I hope you'll come back to work once your mom recovers."
I had never seen Morrison in such a humble state. Was he scolded harshly by his wife? Or did he realize the gravity of the situation as a father himself? I wasn't sure, but his words somehow eased my tense heart. "Yes, thank you." Despite my previous dislike for him, I surprisingly found myself responding that way. Perhaps it was seeing a more human side of a boss I only knew from work. Somehow, I felt like things would work out better from now on. The next day, my mom finally woke up. She had slept for over 15 hours, apparently exhausted, but the 4 fluids had worked, and she was much better. So, I returned to work 3 days later. Morrison hasn't made any snide remarks since then. In fact, he's been quite timid around me. It's clear he values his family a lot. Seeing that, I've started to feel more of a desire to have my own children. I'm planning to go to a group date set up by a colleague for the first time. Hopefully, in the near future, I'll be able to show my mom her grandchildren. I just need to make sure they're careful about heat stroke and let them have all the fun they want.
My husband is an elite director, totally different from you, a high school graduate,
said Emily, my former childhood friend and classmate, with a mocking laugh. "Oh, so he's getting fired, huh?" My classmate was shocked. What were the words I unleashed? "My name is Jack Smith. I've just turned 30 this year. I've been married to my wife, Sophia, for 3 years now. Our marriage is filled with peace, thanks to Sophia's gentle and kind nature. One day, I found a stylish envelope in our mailbox at home. It was from Emily, a high school classmate I hadn't contacted in over 10 years. Inside was an invitation to a high school reunion. Why now? I wondered, but feeling eager to see everyone after such a long time, I decided to attend. On the day of the reunion, Sophia chose a suit for me, and I made my way to the venue. It was a standing reception, and everyone was already mingling freely. After greeting a few people and enjoying some food, Emily, who organized the reunion, approached me.
Look at this, an interesting group. Just a bunch of broke folks,
she said, looking down on us with disdain. Honestly, I wasn't a standout in our class.
It's been a while, Jack. I was worried about where you were and what you were doing,
Emily said mockingly. She and I are childhood friends who used to live nearby.
I'm getting married soon. That's why I gathered everyone here today.
Oh, congratulations.
My husband is an elite director, totally different from you, a high school graduate,
she said with a mocking laugh. Her words stung a bit, but not wanting to make a scene, I sincerely congratulated her. Everyone else also offered their blessings. Emily, looking pleased, continued speaking.
You guys, I'll definitely have you attend my wedding. Look, my husband is planning to take over the company with this marriage, so there will be a lot of guests on the groom's side. So I'm gonna let you guys, who were my high school classmates, attend as guests from the bride's side.
She handed out wedding invitations. Probably she just wanted to show off her wedding, but no one could say that and just accepted it.
You'll come too, right? After all, we're childhood friends.
Emily emphasized our childhood friendship on purpose. I've heard our mothers have been good friends since their school days. However, I lost my mother in 3rd grade and was raised by my dad, who worked in a machine parts factory. That's when things changed. After my mother passed away, my dad started drowning his sorrows in alcohol and gambling, and our lives took a drastic turn. We had to sell our house and moved into a rundown apartment. In high school, I couldn't even afford a new uniform and had to make do with worn hand-me-downs from relatives. In addition, my dad never came to school events like Parents' Day or graduation ceremony. To do all of those, I was subjected to cruel words like poo and dirty from my classmates. Seeing me in that state, Emily gradually began to ostracize me, and by the time we were in high school, she was leading the bullying against me. In my 12th grade, I asked my dad about applying for college. When I nervously brought it up, my dad yelled furiously,
"What are you talking about? I have no intention of sending you to college."
What? I was bewildered and stumbled over my words. Even after desperately trying to convey my wish to continue studying, my dad stubbornly refused to agree. My classmates noticed that I was going to start working immediately after high school, and that became the talk of the class. Emily, who was the center of attention in the class, was among those who ridiculed me.
Huh? You're going to work right after high school graduation. Well, you're from a single-parent family. It's sad you can't afford college because you're poor,
she said, and the other classmates chuckled. I wanted to change my circumstances somehow. The day I graduated from high school, I left home in silence and headed to the city by train alone. With no one to rely on, I was filled with fear and anxiety. Since that day, I've hardly returned to my hometown, let alone my parents' house. I only kept in touch with a few close friends occasionally. After that, I tried to find a job in the city, but there were hardly any places willing to hire a high school graduate. The only place that hired me was the cleaning company I'm working for now. Given my natural property towards cleanliness, this job suited me. I worked hard, and a few years later, when I was 22, I met Sophia at my workplace. She had a beautiful smile and was always polite to everyone. I felt drawn to her, and then she asked me out for a meal. From there, our relationship grew and led to marriage. When I decided to marry Sophia, I thought I should at least inform my dad, but he seemed utterly uninterested.
Well, someone's actually marrying a guy like you. She must have a quirky taste.
Dad, that's no way to talk.
Well, as long as you don't bother me, that's fine. Do as you wish.
I was hoping for at least a bit of happiness from him about my marriage, but his reaction left me disappointed. However, Sophia comforted me.
Your family is me, right, Jack? Let's focus on making our own happiness from now on.
I was so grateful for her words that I hugged her and couldn't help but cry. After that, I had almost forgotten about my family before getting married and classmates, but then suddenly, I received a wedding invitation from my childhood friend. When I got home, I casually discussed it with Sophia.
But this might mean your classmates want to reconcile with you, Jack. Maybe they've rethought things now that they're adults.
You think so?
Maybe you should go after all, huh? I'll go with you, of course.
Okay, let's go. Thanks, Sophia. The next day, I circled "will attend" on the invitation and sent it back. 3 months later, on the day of Emily's wedding, I dressed in a suit. Sophia had been wearing a dress since morning, getting her hair done, and I couldn't help but admire her. Together with Sophia, I headed to the venue. The wedding was held at a well-known large wedding hall in the area.
Yes, the wedding's big since her fiancé will become the president of Goldman Industries.
Yeah, it looks like there are more than 300 guests. As we talked, we entered the chapel and waited for the bride and groom's entrance. Emily, walking down the aisle with her father, looked happy. Her father, beside her, seemed proud. I clapped, but watching the scene, I felt a bit envious. My dad never attended my wedding, and Sophia, considering my feelings, had suggested a wedding with just the two of us. We moved to the reception hall and headed to the friends' table where my classmates were. They were all curious about Sophia, some even asking about her educational background out of curiosity. She laughed it off. I gave Sophia a look, and we took our seats. Then, the reception started. Emily, now in a traditional wedding dress, was beaming. Her groom, Frank, looked like a modern, go-getter CEO. Everyone applauded them warmly. The guests included many executives and employees of Goldman Industries, all there to celebrate the couple's new beginning. Given this is the wedding of the president of Goldman Industries, a mid-sized machinery design company, it's bound to be a grand celebration. As the reception reached its midpoint, the bride and groom temporarily left for a wardrobe change. Seizing the moment, I decided to go to the restroom. I excused myself to Sophia and headed out of the venue. There, I unexpectedly ran into Emily and her husband, Frank, who had just exited for their photo session. Caught off guard, but I still managed to sincerely congratulate them. Emily, thank you for the invitation today, and congratulations on your marriage. Emily responded with a bitter expression, almost spitting out her words.
Oh, you actually came. Did you manage to prepare a wedding gift? You seem to have put in some effort to wear a nice suit, though.
Is this guy one of your classmates, Emily?
Frank scrutinized me, looking me up and down.
Yes, I was embarrassed to invite him, but he insisted on coming.
Embarrassed?
Frank inquired, glancing at Emily. I never insisted on coming. That's probably how all the classmates who attended today felt. We were here because Emily asked us to come. I swallowed those words, not wanting to ruin their special day. But Emily and Frank continued their disparaging conversation about me.
Can you believe it? This guy only graduated high school.
Emily pointed at me and said,
Seriously, well.
Frank laughed mockingly. The contempt in his gaze was unmistakable.
And he's married, too. What does his wife do, I wonder?
I answered honestly. She works in cleaning. I work at the same company. Emily and Frank exchanged looks, then sneered.
Eck, a dirty and smelly job. Perfect for a high school grad like you. I'd be too embarrassed to even mention I work at a cleaning company.
Yay, as a company president. I can even imagine. It's really the bottom of the barrel.
Hey, that's enough. I was angry, but Emily shooed me away with a dismissive gesture.
Just go home, will you? Don't infect us with your poverty.
Yay, why did you both even come? I bet your wife is embarrassed too. I mean, walking beside someone like you.
With that, Emily and Frank turned their backs on me and quickly left. I clenched my fists, trembling with anger. After being treated so terribly in high school, I still came to celebrate their marriage, only to be met with this treatment, mocking not only me but also Sophia and even our job. That's absolutely unforgivable. Then, a gentle hand rested on my shoulder. Sophia.
I heard everything. Jack, I have an idea.
Sophia's face was calm, but her tone carried a clear edge of anger. We returned to the reception hall together. When Emily and Frank re-entered after their outfit change, they visibly grimaced upon seeing me still there. I tried to ignore them, turning my face away. As the reception neared its end, the MC started walking around with a microphone. It seemed attendees were being asked for congratulatory messages. Employees of Goldman Industries praised Frank, and Emily's female friends, almost in tears, wished her happiness. The MC approached the table of high school classmates.
Here we have the bride, Emily's high school classmates. Could you please share a congratulatory message?
I was handed the microphone. Emily glared at me, as if warning me not to say anything out of line. I glanced at Sophia, who nodded quietly. I nodded back and began to speak. I'm one of the bride's classmates. I just have one thing to say. We at Smith Cleaning Services will no longer do business with Frank's Goldman Industries from now on. A hush fell over the room. I smiled and handed the microphone back to the MC.
What does that mean?
As the MC, sweating profusely, spoke, Emily raised her voice from the head table.
Sorry, everyone. This man is emotionally unstable and prone to lying. Despite being just a cleaner, he's embarrassingly making up such stories.
Frank followed suit.
Exactly. People like him don't belong here. Please remove him immediately.
The venue was enveloped in a tense atmosphere, and staff started approaching Sophia and me, who were sitting calmly. But then, a voice rang out.
Wait, are you both the president and the executive managing director of Smith Cleaning Services?
Frank's father, Bob, dressed in a tailcoat, said that with a genuinely surprised expression. Frank had taken over Goldman Industries from Bob upon getting married. Exactly, I am the head of Smith Cleaning Services, and this is my wife Sophia, the executive managing director. We are here today as the bride's high school classmates. As I said this, Frank's guests started murmuring.
Just a moment ago, the bride and groom told us to go home because poverty was contagious, and they said that they were embarrassed to have guests who do dirty, smelly jobs. Please forgive us for staying.
Sophia conveyed this calmly, and Bob, his face turning blue, began yelling towards the head table.
Apologize to them immediately.
But Frank and Emily replied with a half smile.
Huh? Dad, what are you talking about? Why should we apologize to guys like these?
Yay, what's so special about them?
Bob shouted, his voice shaking.
Frank, don't you recognize the name Smith Cleaning Services?
Smith Cleaning Services.
Realization dawned on Frank's face, turning paler by the second.
Could it be our major business client?
What? No way.
Emily was shocked at Frank's words.
Exactly. We recently contracted your company for the design and development of cleaning equipment.
Sophia added calmly, and I followed. And we also placed an additional order for the development of a new vacuum cleaner model. To tell the truth, Sophia is the daughter of the owners of Smith Cleaning Services, a top national cleaning company I joined after moving to the city. Currently, while running the cleaning business, we've also developed our cleaning supplies and recently ventured into e-commerce. Our company, unusual for a cleaning service, has grown to an annual revenue of $100 million with a staff of 6,500 at our headquarters alone. I, coming from a field perspective, was involved in developing successful cleaning supplies and eventually rose to the position of the head of product planning at the headquarters. That's how I met Sophia and eventually married her. Sophia and her family warmly welcomed me, despite my high school education. I worked tirelessly because I wanted to repay everyone, and that's how I got into my job. Last year, when Sophia's father retired, I took over as president.
If we lose the business with Smith Cleaning Services, do you have any idea how much loss we'll incur?
Bob was red with anger, shouting at Frank, who was trembling.
Oh, come on. I didn't realize.
You're not putting any real effort into running the business you inherited. That's why you even forget the faces of our business partners' CEOs? I shouldn't have handed over the president's position to someone like you. Come here.
Bob grabbed him by the collar and dragged him over to us. And he forced an apology.
Please forgive us. We can't afford to ruin a project critical to our company's future.
Beside Frank, Bob apologized as well.
I'm terribly sorry. Please forgive me.
Frank, while apologizing, was sweating profusely onto the floor. Watching this, Sophia turned to me.
Jack, what do you want to do?
Well, then he's fired. He's clearly not fit to be a president.
Huh?
When I said that, my former classmates around me raised voices of surprise, realizing the extent of my influence. Bob quickly spoke up.
Of course not. My judgment was wrong.
Well, I don't plan on forgiving them. I mean, I even placed an order for the new products, considering it as a wedding gift. I must have been a fool. There were screams of despair from the Goldman Industries attendees. I even saw their sales manager faint. I had decided to place an order for the new products with Goldman Industries after hearing that Emily was marrying the president of the company at the reunion. I thought she had invited me to the wedding because she wanted to reconcile. But that expectation was completely betrayed as Emily, with a stunned expression, turned red-faced and lashed out at me.
I don't know if you're the president or the executive managing director, but how dare you speak so arrogantly?
I glared back. Emily, maybe you should worry about yourself. If we stop our dealings, Goldman Industries will incur losses. Your dream of living a luxurious life as a housewife might be over. Upon hearing my words, Emily turned pale, finally realizing the gravity of the situation.
Jack, let's go.
Yay, Sophia. Frank and Bob continued their incessant apologies. I gave Emily, now pale at the head table, one last glance and left with Sophia's shoulder in my arm. After that, we indeed stopped our transactions with Goldman Industries. The company suffered major damage, and as a result, Frank was ousted from his position as president. Disowned by Bob, he lost his status and wealth. Emily and Frank, now constantly quarreling, eventually chose to divorce. With her family turning their backs on her and no one to rely on, Emily is now living alone, working night shifts. We, on the other hand, have been living peacefully as before. Recently, a lovely baby boy was born to us. Sophia and her family are overjoyed and adore him greatly.
I'm so happy I met you.
Sophia, I had once given up on life. That day I boarded the train, searching for somewhere to belong. I was actually terrified. Now, I'm truly grateful to my past self for taking that step. I want to visit my mom's grave with you, and, if it's okay, I'd like to see my dad with you, too. Sophia smiled softly as I spoke quietly.
Of course.
I plan to continue protecting my family and the company, living each day to the fullest,